disparity. Do you think heroines, are paid on par with heroes? Why has that not happened till today?
I really don't know. In fact, I had, most of my films I worked with, like today, who are like superstars who were not known that much when I did films with them, and they were paid less than me. But then once the film became a hit, the next film, the hero was paid like maybe 50 times more than what he was paid, for the film that we would have done together. And I would have gotten paid maybe like 5 times more. That's it. So that's the kind of difference. We work together, he was relatively unknown, and then we do a hit together, and then he gets paid in crores, and I'm still like trying to hit that 1 CR. So that of course exists, and I don't know why. They think, oh, it's a hero na nodake bartare jasti jana anta. But I think if there was no hero, and I don't even know if people would still go and watch movies, right? I think we're equally contributing to the film. Having said that, I have in the past, I have refused to do films because I wasn't being paid as much as I was expecting to be paid. Only because I want to prove a point that no, unless I'm going to be paid equally or more, I'm not going to do a film. So I have let go of films just for that, because I think that women must be paid equally, not just in films, even otherwise. I've had friends who work in the corporate field as well, and she's doing the same job as the other person, but then she got to know that he was being paid a lot more only because something with his education or something like that. I don't understand you, but you're doing the same job, right? So I don't think it's just in the films, but I think it exists everywhere. Women are just paid less than the men.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's a universal truth. But how do you guys negotiate when because your job is also quite unique.
Yeah. So I think with technicians, with directors at least, it's a little different. No, it's not that we get. I will get paid commensurate with my last Friday.
Okay. So yeah, saying even for a technician, it becomes like, what was your previous film? How much did you get paid for that? Sometimes, if the previous film is a big box office hit, I can demand more.
Yes.
Right. So there is really no science to it.
But the actors, one more thing I would like to say, okay, they have this whole theory of box office pull and blah, 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 blah. Let me put aside lead actors for now, but even among character actors, two character actors of a similar stature, there would again be a difference. We've done that more than 25 years ago.
But in today's world, we don't see that.
I don't see why, being a woman, and if you want to play strong roles, it means you have to play like a man's role.
Okay.
I don't understand that. It doesn't mean that a woman has to become a police officer or start hitting people to show that we're strong. We can show how strong we are with emotions and with our dynamics with the people around us. That is, show of strength, right? Like how you overcome situations, your resilience. I think women are very resilient.
Yeah.
That itself shows that women are strong. I don't see why we have to get categorized as, ivaga heroine centric film andre ivaga police officer role atara. I don't see sense in that.
All the action that men do on screen is not real, no?
Yeah. That's also, fantasy.
More so now than ever.
Sometimes it translates off screen also.
I know. She said sometimes it translates off screen also. But Nandini, adding to that, what she said, roles are not being written for women.
Yeah.
Do you think that's still a big problem?
Absolutely. I can't see why an Ulloluk can't happen in other languages, Absolutely gripping film. But on the other hand, I would like to see Ulloluk go and make 50, 60 crores.
Right.
That should happen. Not just the amount of money and critical acclaim it's made. I would like to see it do a Manjumel Boys.
Right.
Well, the thing is that today also 70 to 80% of your audience is male, and the age group is 18 to 23. So you have to be very precise right now what your landing ground is, because right now our attention span is literally that of an Insta reel, because that's our attention span, 2 minutes. You have a start, middle and a finish, and people are constantly doom scrolling now. So we are so overstimulated. We don't have the patience to sit through cinema like we used to. So you have to get that hit very, very fast. Now within that, add this percentage that your audience is largely male. It is largely in this age segment. Now, just keep narrowing it down and then you'll understand the problem. So the economics just don't make sense there. So how do we crack that? How do we get our Barbie? That's the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
At least we should have strong roles for women in the
Within that, I agree.
Within the
Absolutely.
space.
Absolutely.
But does this mean that women have to resort to producing their own films to kind of make a mark? Is that what it is?
It will take many things. I don't think there's one solution. See, anybody who's producing the films today, I think you need to be aware of the ground reality, because I would want every producer at a minimum to make their money back. It's not an agenda we're trying to put forward. At the end of the day, you have to make your money to make another film. That's the simple thing. So you have to be aware what you're making and for whom you're making at the very minimal.
Okay. But despite, all these challenges, there have been successful, strong female, films that have done well. What do you attribute the success of that to? Is it the actor themselves, the talent? Is it the story, or is it a combination of all this, Ramya?
I think it's a combination, yeah.
and I think at the base of it is the story.
Yeah.
I think it's many things. You see, sometimes we'll see a very good film which didn't work. It will be because the release timing was bad. So many things. So it's got to be a combination of things, but the platform on which everything is built is a good story. Of course, there are times when sometimes it's the most ridiculous story. It would have worked. Why would it have worked? Because the songs were great, or the star's charisma was so magnetic. You're seeing him or her in a completely different light. Certain blocks would have worked. So you don't know, every time the mood is also shifting. So by the time you start a film to when it lands, the ground has again completely shifted. How have you marketed the film? What were the other releases at that time? So many things. It's a very, very, very complex business, which is why I say only crazy people come into this line.
Okay.
I made it on my own. There were no favors. Nothing was
Big
handed
round of applause.
Yeah, actually, I noticed Preeta's work because of her work. I came to know she's PC's niece much later.
I usually, even only after a schedule, somebody will come up and say, "You're PC's niece." I'll say yes. I've never used his name, and I've done 19 feature films. So this is my story. It's not connected to him.
And I think that's great that you made it all on your own. But Ramya, as a star, the heroine, most times, you find when you sign on a film, you're just a prop, or, what did you think about that? And I'm sure over the years in your career, there was a graph, right? When you finally started helming films, like you were the star, you were the hero of the film, right? What is that graph like, and what did you think of being just a prop and then moving on to finally, being able to say, hey, this is my market and my film will do business, just like XYZ heroes?
The first film that I did, Abhi, I wasn't told the script at all. So I went on set and the director will be like, okay, illinda allige odi anta. I don't know why I'm running to who I'm running, ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ. ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, because I think he was such a big director and it was such a big film. I don't think I mattered to them that I needed to know the script. So I feel like for my first film I actually need a medal, because I don't know how I emoted and how I did what I did. And then I was very adamant that ಎರಡನೇ ಸಿನಿಮಾಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಕೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. Then I was doing Excuse Me at that time, and then I think Prem Auru, he was the director of Excuse Me, and he came and told me the film up to the interval. And then after that he said, I've not written it, but I will write it. But ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ really set me ಬರೆಯೋ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಅಂತೆ. So but I was like, this is a progress, because first film I had no script. At least second ಸಿನಿಮಾಗೆ ನನಗೆ at least interval ವರೆಗೂ ನನಗೆ ಕತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. So that's how. And then I came to a stage where, directors started writing scripts keeping me in mind, which I'm very happy about. But the thing is, when I when I went into politics and I decided that, okay, now maybe I want to do a film again, I heard a lot of scripts and there wasn't anyone really writing for women except the script that Preeta and Vrinda came to me with, which is a sports related film. everybody else had gone back to doing the same thing. And I'm like, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು 20 ವರ್ಷ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, just being a prop in the film, and there's some comedy scenes, and then you'll go, there's a song sequence, and you'll come, and I'm like, this is not what I want to do anymore, which is why I've taken so long to even decide what I want to do. The other film that I got was Uttarakanda, which the film was really, really nice, but they had like a sequel, so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to give that kind of time. But I still feel like if you look at Malayalam, right, which I'm in love with Malayalam films, the way they write roles for them, I'm just amazed. And I don't know why we're not writing such roles for women in Kannada. I think now people have so much exposure to Telugu, Tamil, Hindi, English, and so many films on Mubi and, on OTT. And you see there's so much of the female perspective that's being brought into films. I don't see why Kannada is still lagging in that aspect. I'm just a little disappointed with that. And I think that we have enough writers, we have enough stories to tell, but I don't think they see the market for a female-led film yet. We're still.
But your last film did really well. The one which
Which was it? I think it was Sanju Adgita was not my last film. It was Aryan and I think Nagrahavu.
which you produced.
I produced. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Swati Muttanamalani. Yeah. Well, the film didn't do well commercially.
But it was a beautiful film.
Yes, and it won all the awards, so I'm very proud of the film. But I don't think the masses are ready for that kind of films, which I think must change, which is what I'm hoping for.
But
So when I came, really, I might have been the only woman. When I was an assistant, even when I was in film school, I was the only girl in class. Things have changed. There are people, of course, there are assistant directors and choreographers, and there are more women on set now than there were 20 years ago. But this struggle, I would say, I was easily accepted. I'm not going to say that was a struggle. Being an assistant, being on set, there was no struggle there because I think when it comes to technicians, there's a lot more respect. Because once they know you know what you're doing, there's an automatic respect that sets in among the lightmen and the other people who work on set. But breaking in, yes, it is difficult. I think it's a difficult profession as it is. I think my male counterparts, if they spent say 5 years to break in, it must have taken me longer.
But
Discrimination industry. I
you guys are in a glam world.
You guys are the one behind the camera doing all that. Yeah, tell us.
We will move on.
She doesn't want to answer controversial questions.
So, that's interesting that you said that. But have ever any heroes batted for your pay? Has any male?
Well, let me just add one more point to that. On that one point, something I just came to know recently and I was very happy. Samantha's producing her first film and she told me there is pay parity. She made it a point.
That's fantastic.
The male and the female actors, she made it a point that they're paying absolutely the same. I was so proud of her. Absolutely so proud.
You're directing the film.
No, that's the film that's already completed.
That's already completed.
Yeah.
So are you doing a film with her? We'll keep that for another conversation. Okay. Another film. But does it work the same way for women?
I think it's a little harder. It is a little harder. I mean, every time my film has failed, but either ways I've taken 2 years. But I'm just a lazy writer. But yeah, no, it's harder. It's harder.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder to continue to keep working. It's harder to, I mean, I started from the beginning, I'll say. It's hard to get a break. It's hard to sustain yourself. It's hard to keep on working. I don't know why. Because it should be about talent, not gender, ideally. But it is. I think I would have done half the films a male DOP with the same talent as me would have done.
A dear friend once told me, you'll have to work twice as hard for half the credit. Always. For the rest of your life in this field.
That's true. I have to say this is very true because I hear stories from other sets where the DOPs come late or take a long time to light. I will be super careful and work 4 times harder than a male counterpart because I would never want anybody to think that I can't do what a man can do. So I'm always on my feet.
Ramya, is that the same experience you've had? Or because you're a star, you can then command, like it's your call. Nobody says anything to you, obviously, because You're bigger than all of them, right?
I got lucky in Kannada, and I think to a certain extent in Tamil also I did a few films. But my first film in Telugu didn't do well. And then I was told that they're very superstitious. If your first film in Telugu doesn't do well, then nobody's going to touch you. But if your first film does well, then you'll sign like 10 films together. And I think a lot of people who are extremely talented, like actresses, right? Who are I don't know, Vidya Balan, right? She was so talented. She is really talented. But then she didn't make it in the South, right? Because, I don't know, whatever reason.
Even Ramya Krishna's initial films were not doing well, you know.
Yeah, but so they look at that. I mean, for especially for heroines, then they, if your films like back to back don't do well, then they'll start calling you an iron leg. You know, they have tags like that for women, and then nobody wants to do a film with you. And it completely takes away the fact that she could be an extremely good actress. She could be very good at what she does. She may be good looking as well, but nobody cares. Your film has to do well, only then will you be. And if your film does well and if you just come for one scene, it doesn't matter. They'll still take you. You know, they'll still sign you on. Because that means you're lucky, something worked in that film. It doesn't matter how good you are at acting or whether you're good looking or not. They will take you because you're a success. That's how, yeah.
Moral of the story, if you're a woman and you're successful, you're definitely lucky. Talent and all you might have a little bit, but you're definitely lucky. Okay.
Constantly across every industry, right? From the time you started till the kind of films that you see today, how much have the roles for women evolved, gotten better? Or is it, do you see still, like other than some, women-oriented films, do you see them, do you see any progress? Is it progressive for women on screen?
Yeah, for sure. I would, I think Gantu Mute was an excellent film, directed by Rupa Rao. Then there was another film, smaller film, I don't think many of you watched it, but I loved it. It's called Hadnelu Hadnentu. I loved the film, okay. And then there's also Sindhu, who just directed Acharya and Co. I loved that film as well.
Acharya and Co.
Yeah, and then in Sapta Sagara, I really liked Rukmini's role as well. Yeah. So I think it has definitely evolved over the years, and I think I wish there'd just be more of it. Yeah.
Okay. Namini, have you ever thought about that space?
Totally depends on the script, what my role is. I would definitely be open to doing it. Yeah. I have no qualms like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But at this stage in your career, you also have one foot in the political arena. Are there specific roles that you want to do, like where you are particular, like as a woman, I've achieved so much already, I've seen so much already, this is not something I want to do anymore?
I think why Malayalam cinema works is also because that's just, I don't want to generalize, but I think that the people over there, the way they perceive women is completely different from, let's say, here in Karnataka, right? All our films are all about machoism. So society, since films have such a big impact on society and the viewer, I feel like they're also seen, as machoism is being strong, right? And anything that's vulnerable is seen as weak. But the minute you start having women stories being told on screen, and I think you just make society a lot more empathetic, a lot more compassionate, because I think that's what women stand for. I think the more women are shown on screen, I think the society also kind of reflects that. I'm not able to articulate it the way I'm thinking it, but what I'm trying to say is, I think for Kannada films, if we had more women narratives and perspectives being brought on screen, I think the audience will also change the way they perceive and how women are looked at, and how they treat women. I think that is what is lacking here. Do you guys agree?
I agree.
I think Rita should talk because her film made such a statement.
I think with Kannada, what you're saying is absolutely right. I think not enough good parts are written for women. They are seen as props, the heroines. So I think what you're saying is if you sensitize the viewer to more interesting content or roles of women, which show them not just as this bystander of every story, I think the way they see films will also change.
I'm actually very keen to see audience response to Preeta's film. The trailer was absolutely stunning. The one iron leg, one wooden leg, one silver leg. we keep pulling them out and using and rotating.
Film doesn't do well for the hero, then the director is blamed. Yes. Or the other combinations are blamed. The hero is never blamed. Yeah.
And I think, interesting, Samantha also had a bit of a jinx thing when she came to Tamil, I think initially. And then she broke it, and then, of course, she went on to do big films with all the stars. She became a top star in the South, in Telugu and Tamil. But, Ramya, I want to ask, not many actresses today manage to stay in that position, but you still have the market. People do still want to see you back on screen, right? And if you come, your movie's still going to be a hit, right? Today's actresses, they're very is it the talent or what is it? They're not able to really, Sam is an exception, I think,
Like Trisha, Nayanthara,
right,
Nayanthara,
actually. But not the new crop of actresses, if I could say. Do they have that same, what is it that is lacking, has not been able to take them to the top and sustain them? Because we see many of them disappearing very fast.
We'll have to wait and see with the new crop, maybe give it more time and see maybe if they sustain or not. I think it's too early to say whether they would or not. But having said that, I think it's also the time period we came in and how cinema has changed over a period of time. I think that's what has helped us sustain ourselves. Like for example, I think in the past, right, when you got married, your career was over. Now it's changing. So even if I were to get married today or have a child, people will still accept me and I will still have movies, not as much as the men would, but I still have that. So I think the way society has changed, that has kind of helped us sustain in the movies. And do you agree with me?
Yeah. But interestingly, Jyotika just made a statement last week, I think, where she said at the age of 28, I became a mother, and then roles just disappeared. They didn't want to cast me as the lead heroine anymore,
So I think that's a while back.
Yes. I think
what Ramya is saying is correct. Right now, the climate has changed.
At one point, definitely they thought once marriage, then there's no question of people acting. That changed when Kareena and all of them went about and did films. It brought about change. So now it's not even a discussion if a woman is going to act after films or not. But like Ramya said, times have changed. See, I don't think the kind of superstardom they've seen is ever going to happen. And I'm saying this, before them. It's kind of declining if you see. And this is not just for the female actors, it is even for the male actors. That enigma of cinema is that of cinematic stars is climbing down. Now they're accessible, they're on Insta, you see so much of their personal feeds, plus people are constantly on shorts, on reels, everybody's an actor, everybody's a filmmaker, everybody's something now. This
whole mystery is gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
But do you think social media has then changed the film industry or affected it?
Undoubtedly. I think Ram Gopal Varma sir said the biggest challenge for cinema is not the OTT platforms but YouTube. He's absolutely right. I mean, I think everybody's parents are on YouTube nowadays. Everybody. How many have YouTube Premium here? I think almost a lot of people will have. You're all the time on YouTube, you're all the time watching shorts. So we have so much content. I mean, it's not funny. Sometimes you could delete an app to actually get out of that space. So we just have too much visual stimulation all the time. The thing of Friday and you going to cinema and watching is gone. But see, on the flip side, OTT has resurrected so many.
I was about to ask you that. Has OTT opened a floodgate of opportunities for women, especially?
It has. I mean, look at Shafali Chaya, what she's been doing, and so many amazing actors have come to the fore, characters being written for them. You didn't need to be a heroine, and such complex roles being written, and Jyotika ma'am's now done an amazing comeback,
I think so. I think it's opened up lots of interesting roles for women. Again, what Nandini said, that if there's a commercial success, if the numbers prove to them, because they only see numbers, right? It's not, they may tell you the story is amazing, but will it make money? So that's what I think stops them possibly from banking on a film like that. But let's say Ramya does a film tomorrow and it's a massive success and she is the protagonist of the film. I think more people will come forward and produce those films.
You need that one courageous person to come forward and make a film. That risk taker. And then, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when there are producers willing to bet 250, 300, 350 crores on a hero, right? Why don't
Oh, I wish I knew. I'm not a clairvoyant, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do want to, but then I want to take my time and I want to kind of like, do something that excites me. That, like, we want to do a sports film, right? But then there's so many sports films that have already been made, and it's always the same, right? It's always the underdog, and then in the end, they're going to win. So that we already know is what happens in every sports film, but how do we kind of like keep the audience hooked through the film? So that was something that I'm quite interested in, and maybe we'll chat again. And I am looking at scripts, and I do hope to do a film sometime. Let's see.
Okay. Nandini, yeah, what kind of film, and, you know, any theme, anything, just off the top of your head?
I think every woman's story at some level is pretty much the same, right? So I think we're bringing more of that. So I think the more women watch it, they become stronger, more courageous. They start leading the way, and they think they're not alone in this journey. Other women are also going through it. Any film that kind of gives women hope and that it's possible too, and then we can change the world, and together. I think films like that, I think, is something that I'd be interested in. When we made Swati Mutana Malihani also, I think, when we got Siri on board, I loved the fact that she was the protagonist and she kind of led the film. And I think she was married, right? And then she was falling in love with another person, which is a complete taboo, right? I mean, we would think that that's what makes a bad girl. But no, she's a woman, she has emotions, she has feelings, and if a man can have it too, why can't a woman? And if a man can stray, why not a woman? And what are these different rules for men and different rules for women? I think that was something we subtly tried to like say through the film. And how it doesn't end for her. Now that her marriage is over, it doesn't mean her life is over. She still has herself, a sense of agency, a sense of self, and she has everything, going for her, and there's a life ahead of her. And I think those are the kind of films that I want to make. Yeah.